Okay. All right. Let's give me a demonstration for getting started with your final landscape drawings. Okay, so at this point now with your drawings, you should have a pretty good idea of, how the drawing will look. And again, this is relating back to your preliminary sketches that you guys worked on. So, this is like the prelim sketch that I did for my drawing. So I have it pretty figured out how I want the flowers arranged, the wind turbines, my overall composition. So kind of the more you can figure out on the drawing, though, the easier your final drawing will be. Okay, so yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so obviously we gotta transfer this, smaller drawing onto like the bigger paper. So I'm actually not using like a full sheet of paper. This is a little bit smaller than what you guys are gonna be working on. Just because this is the only way I can actually project what I'm working on. To, show you guys how to get started. Um, but there's two options in terms of how you want to start with the drawing. So, if you want to start with like using like your pencil, so you're not like too confident with the drawing, you can use your pencil to do your drawings. But just real important though, look at your prelim sketch, but draw very very lightly with the pencil. So it's almost light where it's like really you're not showing much of the pencil itself. Okay, so we're gonna be coloring over this pencil with the color pencils. Okay, so I definitely wouldn't, you know, I definitely wouldn't press too hard with like the regular pencils. Okay, because most of not the entire drawing though will be using the regular pencils or the color pencils. Okay, so I'm just drawing out what I'm seeing here. So I'm just drawing my flowers, my sunflowers. So I typically like to draw like the biggest thing first, and then kind of work my way from there. But you can kind of go anywhere you want. I know the sunflower will be like main, my main focal point, or one of my main focal points to demonstrate like the beauty of nature when it's prospering properly. So you could use like a regular pencil for that, or if you feel really confident with your drawing, or some of you guys might feel, you could just go right into coloring. So I'm just gonna use like this yellow here. So since I know I'm gonna be doing yellow sunflowers, I can draw the rest of my sunflowers in the yellow. So obviously this is like you're a little bit more confident with the drawing. Again, I would just draw very very lightly though. Okay, so you want to build up the layers for your colors. All right. And when you guys are picking and choosing colors for like your things that you're drawing, so I'm just using like this yellow because yellow is like the lightest color on the color wheel. So you kind of want to refer back to this color wheel. Your yellows are the lightest colors, then your oranges, reds, and purple's gonna be like the darkest tones. So I'm going with a bright yellow for this, just so if I need to change or make mistakes, I can always like fix and adjust it later. So I'm just drawing my flowers here, and you want to just basically draw like the entire drawing as best as you can. Okay, so I'm gonna work a little bit quicker here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just do about 6 flowers here. Okay, so if you notice, I'm drawing like just circles here, and that was kind of hard to see because it's yellow. But I'm just kind of figuring out where my flowers would be so I can draw the details of those things. So I guess I'm gonna work a little bit quicker here, but I'm just drawing what I'm seeing with the rest of my drawing. Okay, but you do like the same thing with like the flowers, then wind turbines. I'll probably use like a gray. So I'm gonna use like this gray here. So if you're confident with like what you want to draw, and you know how it's gonna look, you can just go straight into the color pencils. You can probably erase a little bit with the color pencils, so it's not like the end of the world if you. I really tried erasing with color pencils, but that was a little bit more difficult. See, I already kind of messed up here though, but it's okay. I'm gonna color that blue. No big deal. Okay, so that's why you really more important that you want to draw lightly with the pencil. And I'm just going to just work on this, drawing. Okay. So basically, I'm just transferring my drawing over. I'm just using like the colors that would be associated with some of the colors that I might use. So obviously, wind turbines, I probably use like a gray. Flowers, I would use a yellow to outline it. The grass, obviously, do like a light green. So, um, when you're kind of picking and choosing colors, move that screen out of the way. The bin that you guys have though, let's say you have like the small cup. There are a lot of different versions like greens, reds, yellows. But think about it in terms of like your lightest greens, your medium greens, and then your darkest greens. Okay, so just think about it in terms of like light to dark. But it doesn't have to be like green. I don't even know there's an actual green on here. These are like all different kinds of greens. So if you look at like the names, this one says Vert Clair, Vert Permanent, Vert Pale. I think Vert's, I think it's French. I'm reading the French one though. So this is light green, permanent green, pale green, peacock green, and olive green. Okay, so just think about just all like light greens and medium greens and dark greens. But obviously I would go with like the lighter colors. So obviously like the light green, I would just draw like the stems here for like my flowers. Okay, but you kind of get the idea. I'm just kind of following this reference. So, you're gonna just outline it with like the colored pencils, or do very lightly with like the regular pencil. Now, here's kind of like the fun part when you can actually start to color and render itself. Okay, so this is kind of like when you're a little bit further along when you're like going with the drawing. You want to when you start coloring like the details for like your certain parts, there's a couple of different ways you can approach it. You can just kind of color lightly the whole drawing and then go darker with it, or you just can kind of go like details and then just kind of like do like different sections of like details for the part. So, for example, if I'm doing like this flower right here, so I'm actually just gonna work on this flower, show you guys how to kind of render things in detail. Definitely go back to your Google Slides that you guys worked on, or if you have like pictures of like the images that you wanted to use. So I actually put my images on the Google Slides here. So it comes to like this flower here. You want to look at like how they the flowers color obviously. So we see some like yellows mostly for like the flowers, but there's also little hints of like yellow oranges. You can even get away with some reds too, some red oranges. So any color that you look at, though, there's always like a secondary or a third color you can layer or mix it with. For example, like this blue right here. We see like a more vibrant blue, like a darker blue. Okay, so that's kind of why those pencils that you guys have, and it's kind of hard to see, but that's why you have like darker and lighter versions. So, in order to get like those really nice, rich colors from the color pencils, you have to layer your colors and even like in some cases even like blend the colors together. Okay, so I don't want you to think about like the coloring like you're just doing like a coloring book. Like I'm just gonna color like the flowers yellow. I'm gonna color like the stems green, sky blue. So I do want you to mix some colors. Even like the fence here, there's like a little bit of like browns and oranges. Okay, so you really want to like think about like what colors you can mix to make it look more realistic. So I'm gonna have this on the side to look at for the flower. Okay, so and this is obviously one approach you can go with like your drawings is just kind of just work on big chunks of sections, or you could do it overall too. And I just kind of show you another example like where I'm a little bit further along, but you can kind of jump in different places depending on like what you want to work on. Okay, so for the flower, okay, so I would since I actually did this with like the orange right, or the pencil right here. I'm actually gonna go with like more of like a yellow orange for like the outline. So okay, so you don't really have to follow the colors in the actual picture. So I'm just gonna do it with an orange just because I have to do it just because of the this gray pencil that I put. So I really do recommend doing it this way just because those colors are gonna be like a lot easier to build up and it's gonna be more vibrant to look at. Okay, but it won't kill you though if you still have your pencil marks. It just, it'll just still be there when you guys are drawing though. Okay, but I won't take out points though if you go either or approach. Okay, so. Okay, so we got my orange here. I'm just pressing a little bit harder, so I'm not pressing super hard, but I'm just getting like the orange color overall. Okay, so then you can kind of go over it with the yellow. So obviously, you want to do like we did with like your practice. Kind of wish I had the little worksheet that we did before, but you want to do like a light layer of yellow. So think about like the first practice we did where we did like layers. So or you're doing like your pressures, you're just pressing lightly with the pencil. Not too worried how I'm shading. You could either do hatching, cross hatching. I typically like to just do single hatching. Sometimes we'll do cross hatching depending on like the texture object of things. So I'm just going lightly with the pencil just to color in the flowers here. Okay, so just coloring these parts yellow here. Obviously the middle is going to be a little bit more brown. Very lightly. Okay, but the thing with color pencils though is you can always build up colors though, but you can't subtract colors. So if you press too hard in the beginning, it's very, very hard to blend more colors. If you go really hard. Okay, so you want to go lightly at first. So color in all those areas, yellow here. Okay, so going back to my flower here. Okay, and always refer back to your reference. If I look at the details of the flower, though, I'm noticing like it's more orange in the middle here. And there's also a little bit of brown too from like the little stems and details. So those are things I can incorporate in the details of the drawings. Okay, so it's always good to go back to your, refer back to your references. Kind of lost it, but let me find it again. Okay, so I'm looking at this from the side that isn't working. So I'm gonna go back with this orange here again. Okay, so. And I'm gonna do a little bit of orange in the middle here. Okay, again, I'm still pressing very lightly though. But all these parts of the flowers, I'm gonna do a little bit of orange in the middle here. Okay, so pressing lightly. And then if you want to, you can go a little bit darker on the bottom with the orange. So, you can do a gradual change from like the lighter orange to like a darker orange. Okay, so in a way we're kind of like, painting the colors at this point. Or shading the colors at this point. So, in terms of like colored pencils though, I like to think about in terms of like, you're kind of treating it as if it were like a painting. So all the colors, your dark and light colors. Because obviously the orange, if you follow color wheel, we're going a little bit darker on the value. So eventually we're going to do a little bit of red, orange too, and some browns. So, if you can kind of do colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, this is called the analogous color scheme. So, these kind of create more harmonious colors in your artwork. So it's like, when I say harmonious, I'm talking about like colors that are pleasing to the eye. That's gonna, make it more eye-catching, more like, easier to look at. Okay, so obviously I'm going to do like all these sections here though. I'm not going to do it for all of them, just because of time. But, just kind of focus on like one of the areas first. Zoom in. So I'll just kind of zoom in a little bit closer on the details. So, now I can go back with my yellow. So now we're doing like a second layer of the yellow here. You can feel free to press a little bit harder. And you can also mix in with like the yellow with the orange too. Okay, so this is a technique called burnishing where you use like the lighter color to... It's basically getting rid of like all the little white spots. So, just remember like with your, color pencils, you want to get rid of like the white spots. So I'm going back with the orange. So, you definitely want to layer your colors, kind of going back and forth with it too. Okay, so I'm just pressing a little bit harder with my orange, but not too hard. And then, like, what I showed you guys before, we can do a little bit of a brown to get more of the, stems in in the actual. Sorry about that. Get the stems in the actual drawing itself. So brown isn't on the color wheel though, but you know this is like obviously like a dark color. So you know that's how you kind of get those details though. You know you really have to lay out those colors, and then you get like those really like nice, rich, vibrant colors that you want. And you know I can go like really darker with like the brown down here, just because you know we're going into more detail now. Okay, so yeah, this is just like normal shading. You know, obviously, some areas where you know you can use like different techniques. So this is like the stippling here. So stippling is like you know you're not really doing dots, you're doing like little curves. But I'm noticing like the you know this has like a kind of like a stippling texture. So you know this is like where I would start incorporating those different techniques in your drawing. Okay, so if you want to, you can also shade it the brown color because this is mostly brown in the middle here. Now here's a little trick though. If you want to get a little bit darker than blue or brown, you know you can always mix in a little bit of blue with the brown that you're doing. So one of the things I will say though is you know you do have like the color black there or access to the color black. It is better if you can kind of mix colors to create your own black. You know, a lot of times it's either mixing like your browns and blues together. That kind of makes a black. So, you know, doing that though will like you know make the colors look more richer and more interesting. Okay, but that's kind of the idea though. You want to go about with the drawing. You know, obviously I wish I could just show more of the drawing that I'm doing here, but you know, it's kind of hard to do that though. Okay, but you know, I'm gonna show you one that's kind of done a little bit more. So I kind of did like a small one, just to experiment, just because I haven't really done any colored pencils in a while. But you can see like here though, like you know, I did like the same exact things. I actually put a little bit of green in the middle, just because there was another sunflower look that had green in the middle. But you see how like I'm using like the blues here though to you know make it look more darker. I'm not using any blacks, so I'm using the blues, the browns. The browns are you know getting like the darker areas, oranges, yellows. So yeah, definitely want to like refer back to the color wheel. You know, if I were to do like some of this grass here, though, I'll try to use some yellow greens, some blue greens for my darks. And then I'm doing like the ground here. So again, you know, always refer back to your references. You know, I was looking at this one here. So you know, the nice thing about the references too is, you know, you have like your colors are you know found out for you. So I did want to use like a little bit of like oranges and browns, maybe a little bit of yellow, for, like the areas. That's the thing I did with here that I use like the blues to make it darker, and then I was gonna use like the oranges to pop out some of those areas. Okay, but when you work on the drawings though, okay, I would just kind of work on it in like sections. So obviously I could do one section as like the flowers, one for this part here. Do wind turbines next. Yeah, I'm gonna do like the sky last because it's in the back. Okay, then I have to do like the factories here. Okay, but you know, feel free to kind of jump around sections too, just because you know you might get a little tired of coloring one area. You know, you could try a different area, experiment with some different colors. Yeah, but that's kind of how you want to go about with like you know drawing or coloring the your landscape drawings.